Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be reviewing for you the new Revlon Color Stay Whipped Foundation. I know there have been a lot of reviews on this lately, but I kind of obviously wanted to do my own as well. I've done a lot of test demonstrations. I've been wearing it for a few weeks now, and so I feel like I pretty much have a good handle on what I think about it. So continue watching for all that info. Alright, so before I get started, I want to let you know that after I do this review, I will be showing demonstration videos of 3 different ways that I've applied it, and then I'll talk about beforehand what I thought about each one. But if you wanted to see that, you can, and that's why the video is a bit longer. So the review itself, I'm going to try to get through this pretty fast, because I know personally when I watch reviews, I don't want to just hear a bunch of other talk and different things, so hopefully I won't do that. But anyway, so first of all, we're just going to talk about packaging. I honestly usually don't really care about this that much, but I will just say it for those that do care. It's very heavy. I like that. It does remind me of like Chanel or something. It's just very heavy and solid. There's only 0.8 fluid ounces, which is almost 1 ounce, which most foundations are 1 ounce. So it's close to normal like foundation amount. That's what it looks like inside. I haven't used that much of it, so that's about how much you get in there. It doesn't look completely full. That's normal. I'm not sure how long this is going to last me, so we'll see about that, because I obviously haven't used it a lot yet. But that's that. It's fine. I don't mind the packaging. I probably wouldn't. I'm not a big fan of the dipping your finger in thing, but whatever. I'm not too against it. So the price is $13.99. Is most everybody sells it for that price. I got mine at Ulta, and you can usually use a coupon there and get it for about 10 something, which is cool. And so yeah, I like it. And then for the color range, once again, I'm sure a lot of people have talked about this. There are 16 shades. Mainly, it's good for those within the light to medium skin tone range. There are a lot for the tanner skin, but nothing really for really dark women, which is kind of a bummer. Maybe they'll come out with darker ones. I don't know. I know with the regular Color Stay, they have colors that are darker than this new cream makeup. So maybe you need to look there, because personally, I love both foundations. The liquid and the cream. If you are very pale, ivory is obviously the lightest shade, but it definitely has some pinker undertones to it, so if you don't have pink undertones, it probably will not work for you. Buff is pretty light, but I mean, it fits me in the winter, but I'm not the lightest that there is. My sister is lighter than me. She wears ivory, but I'm not pink. I don't have pink undertones, so I can't wear ivory. So I don't know. That might help you, might not. So anyway, that's that. A couple of other things I want to mention about the ingredients. There is no sunscreen in it, which is kind of, I mean, most foundations these days do have sunscreen, so I think it's interesting. But it's also cool that you can use your own sunscreen. You can anyway with any foundation, but I like to use my Mario Badescu sunscreen, which I will show you in the demonstration. Which is fine. So I just use that. I don't care if it has sunscreen or not personally, because usually you don't really put enough foundation on to give you the amount of coverage that a sunscreen should give you. So it doesn't really matter. The other thing is that I smelled it and I didn't really notice any specific fragrance, and I read the ingredients and I didn't see fragrance on there at all. So I mean, there's a few natural extracts which could be adding fragrance to it, but I don't see anything with fragrance on that label, so that's awesome. And it's unlike the liquid foundation, it is actually paraben free, which is awesome for those that want to stay away from parabens. Alright, so let's get on to the real stuff. The application, coverage, wearability, lastability, and removal. Those are kind of my little things I've written down. So first of all, the application, I have tried using it with my fingers. That's the mostly I've used that. I have tried using a, more not dense, I guess, I don't know what you would call that, stippling brush, just a regular stippling brush. This is by Eco Tools. I've used that one. And then I've also used the Sonia Kashuk, I think it's a stippling brush as well, but it's very dense, so it's kind of more like a small kabuki brush. So those are kind of just the range of foundation brushes that I use. I don't like the flat kind because they're always streaky on me, so I just don't have one. But application with fingers, I like. The best thing about that is that it's so easy. Like, you literally just put a couple dots on your face, spread it around, and like you've got your foundation on, versus the liquid concealer or the liquid foundation where I have to get it the way that I like it to look. I get a sponge, make it damp, dry it off, put the foundation on my hand, get it on the sponge, blend it out, blend it out, blend it out. You know, so it's definitely more time consuming. The liquid is more time consuming. So the cream, if you use your fingers, it goes on very, very easily, quickly. It blends out beautifully. It really is like butter. Like a lot of people have said, very creamy. It definitely has silicones in it, so it kind of feels like a primer. I personally don't use a primer, so I don't know if it would change at all if you do use one, but probably would make a huge difference. So then with the brushes, I found that I liked how this looked when I used this brush. I liked how my skin looked. It looked very kind of airbrushed, I guess, but it didn't give me a ton of coverage when I used this. And once again, I'll get more to the coverage in a minute, but I mean, it did apply really well with this. I liked that. And then this denser brush I actually used today, and this gives me probably the most coverage of all the 3 application methods that I've tried. And so I did like that, and I felt like the thing I like about brushes and fingers is that you don't waste product, unlike with a sponge where you basically, you know, the sponge soaks up the foundation, so you waste product. Some of it obviously does get into the brush, so whatever. But yeah, so those are kind of the different things, but it applied beautifully with all of those methods. Okay, so then the coverage, I kind of just talked about that. My fingers gave okay coverage, I would say probably medium, pushing it. Definitely not full coverage for me. Maybe I needed to put more foundation on, but then I would have felt like it was caked on my face, and I don't like that at all. With this stippling brush, like I said, it was kind of more of a sheer finish. I mean, it probably gave about the same coverage as my fingers, but this looked better in my opinion, which was cool. With this, definitely gave more coverage, and it was easier to build coverage without having it feel cakey, because I went around my whole face and then I went back and kind of dotted it on in areas where I needed more coverage, and it worked really, really well. I was pleasantly surprised with that. And as for the feeling of it on my face, I've heard people say it doesn't feel like anything. I've heard people say that it feels like a mask, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, when I apply it more sheerly, it really doesn't feel like I have anything on my face, which is really weird for me, because most foundations, especially the liquid color stay, like you can feel it on your skin. When I applied it heavier like today, I mean, it just feels like a normal lighter weight liquid foundation kind of. It's not bad at all. I don't mind it. I mean, if you're one of those people that hates the feeling of makeup, you wouldn't want to put it on too heavy, but I think you would probably like it if it was sheer enough. As for creasing, you know, settling into fine lines, things like that, I know I'm young, blah, blah, you know, for those of you that are like, you don't have any lines, well, right here, I have smile lines, and so when I smile, the foundation just settles in there. The only foundation I've tried that doesn't do that is the liquid color stay, and this stuff barely settled in there. Like, I just noticed a little tiny line that I just wiped away, and it's fine. So that's awesome. That makes me really excited too. So if you do have fine lines or wrinkles or all of that stuff, I think it should be pretty good for you too, especially when you set it with a powder, real sheer application of powder. That will really help as well. All right, so now we're talking about the wearability and the lastability, which are kind of similar but not exactly the same. Wearability, meaning like does it wipe off? Does it stay on your skin? Does it melt off? You know, all that kind of stuff. For me, I don't live in a really humid, hot climate. I live in the Northwest, so it's not horrible weather. So I can't say, you know, being out in the, you know, sweating and all that kind of stuff, but it has been warmer here, and I noticed that it really stayed on very well. It stayed on well. I haven't noticed any transferring onto clothes or different things like that. I don't think it's quite as good at not transferring as the liquid is, but it still seems to be pretty good at not doing that. So it tends to look, yeah, so lastability, at the end of the day, still looks pretty darn good. I wouldn't say it looks 100% like when I first put it on, but it does still, like, I don't see weird patches where my skin is showing through, you know? It does look very good at the end of the day. So I definitely think it lasts well. 24 hours is the claim, and of course I'm not going to wear it for 24 hours. I'm sure it probably would still look decent if you want to wear it that long, but that's kind of, you know, a thing that I haven't heard yet, so I haven't tried it either. Okay, so the last part we're just going to get to is just taking it off. Personally for me, I love Revlon Color Stay Liquid. That's my beloved foundation, but it is a pain in the butt to get off. You have to use an oil-based cleanser to get it off with, and it just takes so much time for me, even though it's so good that it's worth it to me. But this stuff, seriously, you guys, like, oh, I just dropped the label. This stuff comes off, which is so exciting. I just used a regular, I'm using the Bare Minerals Purifying Facial Cleanser. I've been using that for like half a year now or something. I just really like it. And it removes it. It feels, my skin feels clean after I just wash it with that soap and water. Don't have to use an oil-based cleanser, don't have to use any of that stuff. Even after, you know, using a toner afterwards, I didn't notice a ton of makeup on there or anything, which once again, it's super exciting and makes me probably want to wear this more than I would the liquid, just because it's so easy to get off, which I really, really like that. So yeah, so that's awesome. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for just my thoughts on all of that. Hopefully I covered most everything. Hopefully I didn't talk your ear way too off, but keep on watching if you want to see me apply it with the different methods and see before and after pictures and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Okay, so I feel really silly for forgetting to mention something very important, and that is just how it looks on your skin. Just how does it plain look? So I think, to me, the cream definitely looks more natural and not as heavy, not as much as a foundation as the liquid does. That being said, I feel like the liquid still tends to look pretty natural compared to pretty much every other foundation I've used. So yeah, that's what I think. Okay, so I do want to swatch these, the mousse and, or sorry, the cream makeup and the liquid foundation for you. I have both shades. Right now my summer color is sand beige. It's not very dark, but that's just me. I don't get that tan. I don't really care to. I mean, I like to get tan, but I don't overdo it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these on my hand and then blend them out so you can kind of see what they look like. All right, so right off the bat, obviously the liquid and the cream. The liquid looks lighter to me, which I kind of noticed when I wore this. I was like, whoa, that's kind of dark looking, which was weird because I figured it would be the same. So I think the colors might be a little bit different. So be careful. Make sure you can return it or exchange it wherever you buy it. But yeah, so let's just kind of see. This blends out. Well, I put a lot. That's okay. We'll just blend it out here. So, very liquidy, very good coverage. Okay, and then this guy, you can see how it blends. It's really kind of, it almost feels kind of matte, but because of the silicones, it has that slippery feel to it. So it's kind of weird. It almost kind of contradicts itself. So hopefully you can see that okay. I can't see. I'm gonna get some of this off so you can see what it looks like. My hand is gonna have color stay on it now because I can't get this. This stuff is so hard to get off. So yeah, definitely lighter. Yeah, so that's how it blends out. I mean, they both have decent coverage. I definitely think the liquid gives you better coverage. So I just want to say that really quick. I didn't mention too much in the review my feelings about both of them because I love Revlon Color Stay. I used to work at a makeup store and I would always tell people to buy Revlon Color Stay over like the expensive makeup because I'm like, actually, come over here, let me show you my favorite, you know, so it was fun. But anyway, so I love the liquid. It works so wonderful with a damp sponge. I love the coverage. I love how it looks. So really, I think I'll be using this more, mainly because I can get it off easier. But I'm still keeping this totally for when I want more coverage. I want it to, I feel like it lasts better and looks better at the end of the day, but there's not, I mean, not a huge difference. They both still last a, you know, a long time and look good. So yeah, that's what I think. Alright, so this is my first demo, and with this one I'm going to be using the brush, and this is the Eco Tools stippling brush. You can use something denser too if you want. This is just usually what I use, and I get the best look with the foundations that I use, so that's why I'm going to try it with the new Color Stay, but I actually haven't ever used a brush with it, so we'll see how this turns out. So Let me just go ahead and put it on my hand. Well, actually, this stuff really does not, you don't have to blend it out as quickly as with regular color stay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it directly on my skin. Let me put my bangs back, because I'm not too worried about it, you know, not being able to blend out. Okay, so I've just got some on my finger. I'm just going to dot that on my skin, and I've already used my Mario Badescu Aloe Moisturizer with SPF 15. So it does make my skin a little bit more kind of greasy than it normally is, but it is normally more oily. Okay, so once I've got some of that on, I'm just going to go ahead and start going in and buffing that in my skin with the brush. So it definitely feels easy to blend, but it still isn't really giving me the coverage that I want or that I see with just my fingers. So I'm just going to put some more on, especially like my cheek areas where I have the most like acne scarring and stuff. I mean, alright, so there's what it looks like. Didn't really take that long. But yeah, it seems alright, but we'll put the fingers on there tomorrow and see how that compares. Hey guys, alright, so today I'm going to be applying it a different way. I'm going to be using my fingers, and so far I find that that works perfectly fine and I really like the look of it. Then again, I'm not really looking for a super heavy coverage, which I've talked about in the review, but for what I want, I like it a lot and it still gives pretty good coverage. So I've already moisturized my face same way that I did with the stippling brush. And I'm just going to go ahead and do kind of the same thing. I usually just do kind of section by section. Doesn't really matter. You can dot it on your face too like I did before, because it blends out fine. So I'm just going to start with this section here. Okay, so that is the coverage with it, with my fingers. Yep, I like it. Alright everyone, it's on to round 3 of testing out the new Revlon Color Stay Whipped Cream Makeup. So today I'm going to be applying it with a dense kind of stippling brush. This is by Sonia Kashuk. It's one of her like signature collection brushes. I really like this brush. It's great. I love it. So alright, so I'm going to go ahead and try putting it on my hand this time just to kind of see if that does anything, and then just kind of stippling that brush into it and then putting that on my skin. That's how I normally do it with my liquid color stay, so I don't know. We'll see. Right, so, I mean, this seems to be the best coverage so far of the 3 methods, but it's still not quite as full as I get with my liquid. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more just on certain areas that I want more coverage. And I'm just going to stipple that because that'll help it cover better. But it does look really good. It's just so pretty. Just love how it looks. Alright, so that's pretty much what it looks like. Oh shoot, I forgot to take a before picture. Well, it looks a lot like the other one, so I'll do an after picture so you can compare that with one of the other ones from the day. But I like this. I think it looks really good. So I will be doing the review next.